Today in the conversation, I'm going to have three important personalities with me. I'll be speaking with three personalities involved in the movie industry and film production, and just in the film production industry. I'll be speaking with Tanvi Ghandi. She's joining me from Mumbai, India. We had Tanvi not too long ago. But tonight, it's going to be more focused on the world of the film industry, independent film industry, as opposed to the establishment ones. And then also joining me from LA, from Los Angeles, is Mara Hopewell. And she's also a major player, a prolific film producer from Los Angeles, where she's joining me tonight. And also I have Gabriel Constans, an impeccable, prolific screenwriter and also novelist. If we remember, we had Gabriel Constans speaking about his stories that was picked up by Poison Pictures, which is an important independent film production company based out of LA. Interesting conversation with three important personalities. I'm so happy. I'm excited. But before we get into this very exciting video, I just want to take a short moment to remind you guys, it's important to let me know that you are very interested in the conversation, and also that you really want to tell your friends and fans to join into the conversation also. Important conversation every Friday. And if you subscribe, if you haven't subscribed, I'm urging you to do so. But when you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, it's going to you as soon as possible. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here this evening or this morning if you are in India and Mumbai right now. So with three interesting, impeccable screenwriters, film producers. What a joy for me to have you three this evening with me. I've been wanting to do this for the longest now because the conversation encompasses not just writers but also film producers and also people who are very good in terms of promoting their art, whether if it's music. But tonight, it's something extremely important. All three of you are involved in some fashion or another with the film industry. And I remember Gabriel Constans is with me tonight, is the first person with whom the conversation began. So he's a historic figure when it comes to this show. And then also Myra Hopewell, as you know, she's a prolific film producer, and she's joining me from LA tonight, right?
Yes, I'm in LA.
Also, I have Tanvi Ghandi. Gabriel, you told me last time, so you know Tanvi very well. So she's very prolific in Bollywood, I would say. So tonight we're going to be talking about the role of independent film productions and how we can actually compete normally, at least to some level, with the big Hollywood type of, the ones that we know of. So the establishment that we know of. I'll begin with Mara because last time our conversation centered specifically around that. So how you doing, Mara?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Dr. Isma?
Doing okay.
Yay. Okay, it's a good place to start, up from there. So I'm Mara Hopewell. I am an independent film producer. Currently, I'm doing a documentary on suicide prevention, really specifically on the prevention side and the things that we could do to help humanity not just survive, but thrive. And the greater things, kind of like, we've had really big hits for the last 2 years. The whole world, and for a lot of people, they don't feel like there's any end in sight. And for other people felt like, well, it's been like this whole time. Where have you guys been at? So it's kind of like where the world is conversion a lot, in suffering, but also in the answers that we might be able to achieve together. And so that's kind of like, I felt I couldn't sit back and watch. I had to do something. And I've also noticed that stories tend to be the blueprint to human consciousness, to the very light of consciousness itself. And if we were going to tap in together on what that was going to be, what our future was going to be, I wanted it to be more on solutions and lifting each other up and us rising to our fullest potential. So I kind of jumped in the game. I was an actress, so I was not necessarily producing was very new, exceptionally new. So I have a lot to learn about like fundraising, as far as coming from a military background, putting teams together, putting resources together, getting momentum together. That was not necessarily as new. So it was just, just a matter of getting the ball rolling. And LA is one type of beast. And then internationally, what I discovered was all the different things that other people, the problems that they get to solve, which is much, much tougher than what I was trying to solve. So it's very inspiring. So anyway, if you have any questions, yeah.
All right. So I remember now, last time we had a conversation, Tanvi, we spent a good portion of our conversation talking about those pressing issues.
Yes.
In fact, one of your last productions was titled Life in the Times of Corona. Why do we feel, and also Gabriel also, and in the screenwriting that the story that you wrote, which was picked up by Poison Pictures, also plays a major role because it has a compelling theme on it too. But I'll start with Tanvi. Why do you think that independent film producers feel it's important to tackle issues that that establishment companies do not worry too much about bringing into the big screen?
The thing with the independent film producing is that the pressure of being able to target a large audience, a mass audience, is slightly lesser. So you can actually talk about topics that will then be addressed to certain niche people. The bigger the subject, the bigger the budget, the bigger it needs to go to different people. You have to then stay in the larger entertainment space, Dr. Isma. That's what I feel, which is when you're an independent producer, you're able to tackle subjects with lesser risk. You're able to tell stories that are targeted in a way, because I then feel that the budgets then work very differently. And so therefore it's very important to try and find a balance in a way between trying to tell your stories, find those very key subjects like Mara. I think that's so incredible to be able to have this and have, either it's in an entertainment way where it is a film or it's a documentary, as long as that information is going out. And so definitely it's a tougher ball game to raise the money, to try and find the right subject, to just try and find distribution for all of this, because at the end of the day, and like we spoke about it the last time, it is business, whether we like it or not. It is everybody eventually wants to make money, needs to make the money around this. So it's always this balance between the big productions that will then be about mass entertainment or messaging, which goes slightly more restricted in that sense.
Okay, so very good. And that point, I'll go with Gabriel, because I know your story, the last conception. You had to work closely with the Poison Pictures. Were there any moments where you feel that somehow, if we had the means to actually raised more money, the production could have gone farther than it has been so far.
I think with that picture, with the last conception, they did it on an amazingly low budget. And I don't think more money would have made any difference.
Okay.
Actually, I think they would have been able to get different, more well-known actors in it.
Right.
And perhaps gotten it picked up by somebody else. But they did such an amazing job with it on the amount of money they had. And most people don't even know that it was a really low budget film because it was so well done. So I don't think money is always, it helps to have more money to be able to get it seen by more people at times, if you can get people that are more well known to be in it, because then many times that guarantees a certain number of people will go watch it or see it on TV, as opposed to others who don't. But in some ways, I think what Tanvi and Mara were saying, there's just the focusing on what it is that's important to you and the story you want to tell. And then you find a way to connect it with the people, and you hope the people that need to or want to see it are able to see it. With the last conception we've been working on, and it's like on multiple platforms now, and in US, Canada, UK, Ireland, soon to be Scandinavia, the Baltics, and where they're talking to some distributors in India right now.
This is amazing.
As well, which hopefully talk at Tanvi about. She has some suggestions about that too, and in South Korea and Singapore and some other places. But things like the issue of women's rights, which Tanvi did on Women's Day, did this feature commercial. It was so powerful. It was so good. And a lot of people saw it everywhere, even though it's just really short. And Mara's doing something that affects, doing her documentary and documentaries right now, focusing on suicide and ways to support people and families who are connected to people who did not survive the attempt, and also, even more importantly, to provide the support and means for people to be able to live their full life and not think that's their only choice.
Okay,
So I think, if you want it, if you're just trying to make money, then go try to get into Hollywood and do those, kinds of things. That's another thing I recognize. I think Mara and Tanvi could both.
I was going to say that.
I know they could both be making more money from what they're doing right now. Tanvi already has. She was like the queen of Bollywood.
That's what you told me, Gabriel.
It's a misconception. It's a misconception.
She worked with a lot of big studios in Hollywood as the executive producer. She was line producer on one of my favorite movies of all time, Queen. And
you saw that.
I love that movie. And she, what I respected a lot about her too, is she decided, because she wanted to have more of a voice, I think, with more of her own voice, and to pick more where she wanted to. So you started doing, your 3 short films with Andrani Ray, and they're available here, so I can only see the trailer for them. But just the parts that I saw were so good and just so well done. The Tea in the Rose, it was in black and white.
Yep.
And in some ways you can connect to a small film or a small documentary, as Mara's doing, even more intimately than you can as an audience member, than you can with a big picture, that with somebody who's really well known, that you're going to see the show and be entertained. And it doesn't have to be entertainment or, entertainment, making money, or something that's important, or a story you want to tell. It can be both combined also. So.
Of course, yes. And I think that's precisely during the last conversation that we had, Tanvi, we touched on the issue, and I have to say that this is my own personal opinion. I'm a passionate when it comes to social justice. So I really believe strongly a production, if it doesn't have to be a feature film, it could be a short film. If it brings something that any individual, any viewer can walk away from as a lesson in life, to me, that's the most important thing. So, Mara, my question to you, I remember
Yes.
when I raised that issue, and you say to you, the most important thing is to exactly what I just said, to make sure that yet people are educated by your production. Each to you is the biggest satisfaction.
Yeah, it's what really stands out for me is, what do people take away when they leave? When the credits roll and they're walking out and they're going to go to the rest of their lives. One, did I convey what I meant from the very beginning to give to them? And how will it impact them? How will it impact generations way past them to the next and to the next, in such a way that it impacts the entire stream of consciousness and humanity as a whole, as like a legacy? And did I take that seriously, or did I flippantly do something, or inadvertently, accidentally do something that does not uplift humanity, but tears it back down? And so that's something I'm always thinking about before I write the script, before I write the characters. The story will guide everything. The theme will definitely guide everything. With my documentary, because it's about trying to get as many people as possible to live and encouraging them towards the thrive, I do gotta get celebrities. I do have to raise the budget. I do have to get a much farther reach. So it's a little bit different than, say, an average independent film. But at the same time, I'm still looking at it as like, I'm not going like, who's the biggest, hottest celebrity? I'm thinking about who is passionate about the subject, who has been touched by the subject, and who more than likely can reach and touch people in the way that I meant, that we could work together as a team to be able to touch people on this.
Okay,
as
so
when
now,
I am looking for people.
Okay, on the issue of working as a team,
Yeah.
that was just going to be my question to Tanvi Ghandi. Now, because I know you are actually, you live at a place, India has a population of more than 1 billion people. So I think if we have to ask Tanvi to bring to the table as many as viewers as possible, we can find many. So which comes to me, I think it's important for independent film producers to really close rank, whether you are producing from across the world, such as Tanvi in India, such as Myra in LA and Los Angeles, such as Gabriel in Northern California. So, you know, we can actually use our expertise and through the means of technology to create production based not just on one individual perspective, but also in all of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most amazing part of our new world. The positive that came out of the pandemic, in a way, is just the accessibility and this feeling that nothing is stoppable. We can all still do what we're doing, sitting from our homes, and collaborate and do, create stuff that we all want to, with inputs coming in from across the world, literally. For example, this forum, I think, just all of us together talking about something, you never know, could create something down the line, And the other big thing that I feel with regards to independent stories or different kinds of stories is the boom of the OTT space, with the digital vertical that has just risen through the pandemic. Again, at least from an Indian standpoint, not every content created needs to have a theatrical now,
right,
which gives so much hope and a chance to all kinds of other stories now, different budgets, different stories, different artists, different technicians. Everybody now has at least the chance and the possibility of at least, knocking on doors that may open. Initially, I think the pressure was way too much, and the star system, at least in India, was, this which dictated too much of the way our cinema would be conceived and received both. But it has changed dramatically. It's only evolving now, and that gives a lot of hope to young producers like ourselves, and who are relatively new in our independent producing, and it feels great to be able to now at least feel that independent can become mainstream as we go along.
Correct. That's what's going to be my next question. And I'm sure that, Gabriel, you've lived that before, because you work closely together with the Kelly Tutera and Gabriel Constans on that production. So I know firsthand, firsthand how that might be possible. Because I remember when I talked to them, they were very interested in the kind of production that we're all talking about. So Gabriel, let me ask you something. Is it really possible that through the means of technology, a production can be done simultaneously, one single production, but using different, we don't have to be on one set, but I'm just throwing it out there. Gabriel, do you think you don't have to be in one set, but you can still fine tune the production to make it as professional as it should be when it's released? Gabriel.
Yeah, I think collectively, and a lot of films are made from all over the place. All different aspects of a movie are done in different countries, different parts of the same country, and added into the film later on for post-production. So other than the actual shooting, a lot of shooting in the film is done in different areas too, and then put in together in the film. Especially with larger budget pictures, they're able to do that even more in special effects. So it's already been going on for some time, but now I think there's even been, Tanvi was saying, even more collaboration with different people has really opened up, and there's more work being done collectively in a variety of places and things put into a film. Everybody doesn't have to arrive at the same place at the same time to get the movie made. A small number of people do. A certain number of people, well, depending on how big your cast is.
All right.
Hundreds, a couple hundred people for a big, Bollywood dance number.
We want to say something.
All have to do at the same time. But but a lot of things, different scenes can be done at different places and in different times. So yeah, and the streaming has more platforms available, more channels, more and more people watching movies, shorts, features, documentaries online, and having a lot more choices. There are a lot more opportunities for more people to get their movies seen.
So my question to Mara at this point, Mara, let me ask you a question. Because I know as a movie producer, writers also, screenwriters I'm talking about, would submit works to you. So what is the first thing you do when a work of fiction is being submitted to you?
That's a great question.
And it'll be the same thing for Tanvi too.
Yeah. So I want to kind of tag on what Gabriel did. When COVID first hit, like I said, I was an actress. So all the production shut down, there was no work. But I was a working actress, which means I couldn't, and an up and coming one. So I wasn't a big celebrity that had a whole bunch of money that I could just get through COVID. It literally was, I was to production as an actress. And when they all shut down, my means of paying rent, my means of having food, my means of everything shut down as well. And so I pretty much ended up like homeless. So what I did was, watching that happen to my friends and watching that happen to myself, I went into production. And I literally wrote a script around how to produce something around the pandemic so that we could do it remotely so we could all be safe. So one of my actresses was in Israel. One of my actors was in one of my actresses was in Israel, one of my actors was in Greece, and some of us were in LA, and we were doing it through Zoom. And then I worked with my editor who was in Illinois, and we cut it together. It's in post-production right now, and it's called In Reach. And so it's like the problem that presented created a way to be more creative and to actually get people to work and to get people to connect on a greater level that would never have happened otherwise. So I just wanted to touch on that. I definitely want to also answer your question, Dr. Isma, absolutely, about when people send me a script and what I look for. I consider a script to be like the foundation. It's like when you're doing architecture, when you're building a building, it is the blueprint. It is the, everything is going to come from that story. And so the first thing that I look at is, are these characters people I want to follow for 2 hours? Do they touch me? Do they move me? Do I take anything with it? And do I want to go on this journey with them? So I'm really kind of big, and I think it just comes from just acting on dialogue, authenticity, but also as far as like plot, is this is the problem that they have to solve, because every story is about solving a problem or collapsing underneath the problem. Do I want to be a part of that? So that to me is like the first 10 pages. You know, do they have me? If they have me, I want to go further. But so in the beginning, I used to produce other people's story. When I was in film school, I would produce other people's story. But I've always been a writer and I've always been an actress. So for me, it was, the only reason why I wasn't a writer before I was an actress is because when I was real little, I didn't know how to use a pen. I didn't know how to use a typewriter, but stories were always moving inside of me. And so I write my stuff now. So like In Reach was something that I wrote when I was in film school. And then when I used to do other things, I would hand people script. I wasn't confident in myself to say that I thought it was too arrogant to be a writer. And so I would hold back a lot. And so, but what would happen is I would hand people scripts and they didn't want to correct them. They just wanted them to get produced.
Okay.
And so that's what,
because we only have about 5 more minutes.
I talk too much, yeah.
In the conversation. My question for Tanvi now, listen. Now, how possible you think it could be for different independent film production producers to create joint productions? Is it possible, Tanvi?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think it's more than ever before, to be honest. I think, because conversations are possible, we can all be reaching out to each other and sharing our stories, which now, in a way, the world has become one global village. Everybody is accessing the same kind of information. And I think there's far more relatability and also curiosity to know each other's cultures. There's the reach has definitely gone much wider. So most definitely, I think the idea really would be to be, I feel, smart enough to know what is the story, who is it going to be targeting, what is the budget, who do you bring together. These are all conversations and a proper analysis that would be required for any project. And which region would it go for? Is it a global thing or it's only for, let's say, a certain market? Or once you sort of assess all of it, get the right people, the blueprint is ready. I definitely think it's very much possible.
Awesome.
And that's my hope as well. Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we just, guys, put me in something, you know what? Maybe you two or you three can probably have a joint venture. How's that,
That would be fab.
You would be offering the audience something unique, the Indian perspective when it comes to certain social issues, and also the American perspective when it comes to some social issues, because I know both of you guys are experts on it.
No,
so
and human emotions are the same.
Same.
Yeah, it's the same. It's really how we present it. So
That's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It is true. Because I find myself, on all production. I remember I loved the last one, Love in the Time of Corona. And I just admire you also, and many of your productions too, Myra. And also, I'm a big fan of the last conceptions, but I'm going with Gabriel because we're about 4 minutes before this ends. I'm already feel that chagrin already. But Gabriel, my question to you. So can you please share with the audience when we can expect a next, story from you?
Well, actually, it's funny, there's a couple of things. There's a series I wrote that Disney is considering it right now, about a Native American teenager and her father. And it looks like that will probably happen. And another story that actually that I wrote with another writing partner in Atlanta, called Yashodra, and it's based partly on my novel Buddha's Wife.
Okay.
And it's just a short 10-minute script, and we're just looking for funding for that now. So hopefully that will happen sometime in the near future. So there's another one, but I don't want to take up too much time. It's interesting. When we talk about the way things have changed, I've only been writing screenplays about 20 years now. And I'm just starting to get the hang of it.
Wow.
And I used to have to send it off to somebody by mail and wait forever and have it all printed out, never hear from anybody 10 times. And then if I finally did hear somebody's interested, they'd ask me to come over. They want to meet me for lunch to have a meeting about it. And I'm like 10 hours away in a whole different city. So unless I lived in LA, I couldn't just go do that. So, now I just can send it to people and resend it and talk to them and over like this. So, the pandemic made even more people using this means also. So, as Marla was saying, and Tanvi too, it's just in some ways it's created a lot of opportunity for independent producers and directors and actresses and writers. So.
Okay, so Myra, you have 30 seconds to answer this question. When do we expect the documentary to be right now in the book? I mean, to be in the big screen. When?
Yeah. The goal that we're making right now is for it to be in 8 theaters in the United States by next year, by October, and 100 internationally, and then see how they do and then grow from there. The way that I did the budget is so that I can absolutely do that, whether they do well in the festivals or distribution at all. And then if we actually do well in those departments, we could actually expand.
Okay. And what is the title of the documentary again?
One More Day.
One More Day. Okay. And Tanvi, you have the last word at this point. Would you please tell us exactly what is our next production and when can I personally before the whole world? Okay.
So, just quickly wanted to add to Mara's thing and even Gabriel that yes, the short films were made remotely through the lockdown and technology came in place and we were sitting in Mumbai and the actors were in different parts of India. And so creation is fully possible through Zoom. But now it's also exciting to be back on set physically and, get on with how we knew life before the virtual world. I'm actually at the moment, very honestly, still in conversation about a couple of projects that I'm putting together. They haven't converted into the next stage yet, but it's a part of the process. I'm excited about what I would be doing next. There are a couple of things. So as soon as something gets locked, I shall let you know.
I'll be the one.
I shall let you know. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
On
it will
that
happen.
wonderful note.
Thank you, Mara.
Can I ask you a question, Ardain?
Sorry?
Can I ask you a question, Ardain?
Yes.
When is your next book coming out?
Well, you know what? It's gonna be sometimes in the summer, maybe probably towards the end of July.
Wow.
And I want to do that because my youngest son's birthday is July 28th. So I wrote this story because they wanted me to do so. They wanted me to write a story so they can identify with what they call the spring of my life. So I wrote the story for them. It's titled Bittersweet Souvenirs of Last Spring. So, and I think maybe as movie producers, you might want to take a look at it too as that.
Yes.
Okay. You'll be able to read it. But
We would love to read your book.
Towards the end of July, Bittersweet will be in the corners. So let's keep your fingers.
Wonderful.
On that note, it's been such a beautiful pleasure to be with three impeccable, movie producers, screenwriters, Gabriel Constans, screenwriter, and then great movie producer Tanvi Ghandi, joining me from Mumbai, and Hopewell, the prolific movie producer from LA. Great.